Alright guys, welcome to another electronics video. In this video we're working on a 2005 Toyota Avensis, and this has been brought in by a customer and explained that the engine check light's on, the VSC vehicle stability control lights on, and the traction lights on as well. So before we go further, we will confirm that that fault actually exists. So we've got the key, set it in here and start it up. And let's see if those faults are present, and which they are. We can see the engine check light here, we have the VSC and the traction there. There is a traction button here. If we press it, does it do anything? No. Okay, so those are our faults. There is high RPM. I mean, that's, I guess, acceptable because the engine's cold, and I can smell fuel. So what we'll do now is we'll turn this off, we'll plug our scan tool in. So what I'm using for my scan tool is a Ps90. I'll put a link to the description of which one I'm using, so Xtool Ps90. And let's plug this up. For this vehicle, the diagnostic port is right under here. So you have on the right hand side, you've got the pedal and it's right up under here. So let me plug the diagnostic tool into the slot. Okay, good. So we've got that plugged, and let's get some directions to what is actually happening. So turn the ignition on. Let's grab my scan tool, just put it here so you guys can see. If I put it here, okay, so we'll finally find your spot where there's less glare. So we've got the ignition on. We'll go into our scan tool here. So we know this is a Toyota. So let's find Toyota, which is up here. And let's see if it communicates. And we'll find Japan, auto detection. And let this communicate. So this scan tool is quite good. I've been using it for a while now, and yes, it's a steep price, but for things like this, I need something reliable that's going to work 100% and give me some directions to where I'm going to go. So the steps I'm going to take is, first of all, let this scan the car so I can get some direction. And the second thing is, before you get this sort of problem or anything electrical with your car, first of all, check all your fuses. So sometimes when there's no power going to the circuit, that might eliminate a check engine sign as well. So always check your fuses. So we'll select Avensis, and then we've got a 1AZ. We'll select this one. We've got, yep, those are correct. We'll go automatic selection, and there's 42 scans to do in here. So right from the start, we've got a engine and ECT fail. So let this run its course and go from there. So what I was saying, that once you're doing electrical checks on your vehicle and you've got an engine check light, or you're doing some diagnosis on what's actually happening, always make sure that that you check the fuses, you check all of the simple stuff first, the easy things first, before you jump onto the most complicated things. That saves you a lot of time in the overrun, trying to chase faults and things like that. So we've got two faults on here, which is stating that we've got a engine check light, VSC and traction off. So I'll let this run its course, and then I'll restart you once all the scans are done. Okay, so we're back. It's done its 42 checks, and we've got fail in 4 of the 6 areas. And now let's do our DTC report and see what it gives us. So from the beginning, it gives us a engine and ECT P0135, circuit of oxygen sensor, heater bank 1 sensor, and we've got a whole history of those, and we've got a current on the top, and we've got a ABS, VSC, traction, engine control system, and the mobilizer warning system. So when whenever I work on cars that have multiple series or a host of faults listed, what I start with is I start with number 1. So P0135. Now, easiest way to go with that is if you Google it, it'll tell you that it's exactly this circuit of oxygen sensor heater, bank 1, sensor 1. So that's all we're going to look at first. So I will start by checking all the fuses and ensuring that that's all done, and then we'll lead up into the engine bay and see if we can locate the bank 1 sensor, and so I'll restart you from there. Okay, so I've got my multimeter set up here, and what I'm doing is I'll be probing into this point of the engine bay connector, and this is the oxygen sensor connector which plugged here. So I've disconnected it. What I'm checking is if I'm getting my 12 volt or close to 12 volt signal in this connector here. I've got my ground lead connected to ground here, which has just gone to this probe of the multimeter and back up here. And so I've got the ignition on, engine off. So what I'll do is I'll probe the top right pin here, and we are getting 11.75, which is good, and the top left, it's okay, and the bottom left, it's good, and then the bottom right, okay, good. So we can confirm the top right as our voltage that's coming in, which I can confirm it's present. Now what I'll do is I'm looking for my ground here as well. So what I'll do is I'll connect my ground probe directly to the top left and then to the top right, and do we get a voltage? Yes, we do. So we can confirm that our ground and voltage are present. And then now what we'll do is I need to confirm that this oxygen sensor is actually faulty. So I will show you a series of ways to test these, and I can get set up and then I'll bring you back on. Okay, so here we are with the connector. So we have our 2 black wires here, which is for the heater. We've got our white and our blue there. And so what I'm going to do is I am interested in the 2 black wires, so I'm going to put this here. The 2 black wires are on this side, which is the bottom left. Let's just hold that there, and I will probe one side with my alligator clip and then turn my multimeter to ohms and grab the other lead, and I will probe the other side of this connector just there and see what sort of reading do we get. So for this type of oxygen sensor we should get a reading between 0 to 12 ohms, and that's specific to this oxygen sensor here. So right now we are getting nothing, so you can see that. And what we'll do is we will take this out of the car now and take it on the bench, and I will call the parts shop to order a new one in once I've confirmed that this one is faulty, and then we will measure the new one and confirm that we get our ohms reading on that one as well. So you should get a very low resistance on this plug. If you've got infinity or open circuit, which we have here, then we have a problem. So you can see that that's open. I'm rechecking all my connections and they're well made. And what I'm going to use to remove the oxygen sensor is this tool here, and it's part of this box here. So that's the part number and where you can get it from, and it comes like that, and it's quite good. I've been using it for a while and it's awesome. So we will now disconnect our connector, and I will show you how to remove this oxygen sensor. Okay, I've got you positioned facing the oxygen sensor, and what I'll do, here's my tool. Hopefully I'm not in your way too much. That just goes over that, like such, and we'll align our tool for this. It's a little bit tricky to do, all these things in the way, but let me just, good. There we go, it's just broken loose. It's good that it's quite loose. Some can be rusted on, which make it very difficult to come off. Okay, so up here. Okay, so here we go. We've got it out of the car. That's the connector, and we will take this on the bench, test it, and compare it with a new one, and we'll come back, install it, and see if we'll fix the problem. Alright guys, so we've got the sensor removed from the vehicle. Here's the old one. I did go and order a new one in from the local parts shop, and this is the sensor code if you need it. And what I will show you is how to check this one. So brand new and same type of connector. So before you do anything, always check that you've got the same connector. So let's line them back to back, and we've got the 4 pins facing vertically, horizontally, yep. And then you've got the white clip here facing up and down. The connector looks the same, and let's pair up this way, rather this way, and yes, that looks about right. And then side by side. Alright, cool. So we do know that we've got our proper one, and what I want to show you is the measurement that I was doing with the old one. As you saw, I was probing into these black ones, which is the element, the heater element for the sensor, and that's these two here. Let's go this side, so it'll be those two. Okay, let's do that and then bring you guys this way. Okay, so I've got my multimeter. So it's my ohm scale, and it was these two here, and let's probe and see what sort of reading do we get. Do we get anything? We get an open circuit, so that's no good. So yep, it's those two. Let's confirm again. And a lot of times when you're doing this sort of tests, ensure that you take your lead resistance into account as well. So a lot of people that have, or that do this sort of work, they don't really take into their lead resistance, and then they say, oh, the sensor's, you know, over the ohms reading. Well, did you check your lead resistance? So always check your lead resistance. For me, it's 0.1 ohms, and that's the lead. And again, we get nothing. So now let's remove the sensor out of the way and bring in the brand new one, and we're interested in these two white ones here, and that's on this side. Okay, so let's tighten that, and we're still in our ohm scale. We can see that, and I will probe this in here. So this should be below 12 ohms. Great, so we'll get 9.1 ohms, so 9 ohms because of my lead resistance here, and which is good. So that's what you should be seeing with the oxygen sensor. If you really want to be sure that the sensor works or not, or if it's actually faulty or what's or not, and you cannot confirm with your multimeter, what I've done previously in the past is I've connected the multimeter on millivolts to those two probes there, which are these two here, the white and the blue, and I have heated the front of this with a blowtorch, so similar to this torch that I use, but you need a bigger one, so butane torch from your local hardware store, and you heat this up and you have to see the reading if it's gone closer to 1 volt, and confirms that. The other one you can do is if you measure the oxygen sensor and you light a candle up in a rather large container with a lid, and let the candle be lit for a while, and then you close the lid so you draw out all the oxygen inside the container, and then you use your oxygen sensor whilst the Kindle's off, and you put this inside and you see what the reading is on here. And that's another way of confirming if the oxygen sensor is actually working or not. So I've done this test, and I know that I'm getting 9 ohm reading on this new one, and that's enough to tell me that this old sensor is very faulty, and I will replace this new one into the vehicle now. So the replacement is very much the same. The only difference that I could see is if I put these two side by side, it's just the lead is extremely long, which is fine as well, because I can cable tie it and tuck it away neatly. So off with the old, in with the new. I'll reinstall this in the vehicle, and then I'll put the scan tool back on and scan the data again, clear all codes, and see if we'll fix the problem. So let's do that. Okay, so we've got our oxygen sensor snugged in well, it's tight, cables are all out of the way, and our connector is well plugged in. And now I'll go inside the car and see if our scan's complete and if our fault is eliminated. So we're up at 33, 34, and ignition's on, engine check light still evident on the display. And what I'll do is, after this scan, I tend to clear all DTC and then do a rescan. And so I do this about 2 to 3 times, ensure that there is no faults logged into the memory of the ECU or ECM. And so we're in the last scan now, and so we've still got all of these fail. So what I'll do, clear DTC and erase everything. Okay, so we've got normal, no DTC on all of our banks here. Let's go diagnose. Okay, and let that communicate, and let's read our trouble codes, and no fault code present. Awesome. And let's exit out of this and turn our ignition off and stop the car and see if our codes have been erased. There we go. Let's give it a bit of a rev. Okay, good. So there you go, guys. Fault codes erased. Our traction and VSC lights are off as well, and the button is actually working now. See if I can get you a shot of both. Good. So there you go, guys. It's fixed. And so those simple steps. So remember, we did a recap. We scanned the vehicle, we found and confirmed the customer's complaint, and then we checked the fuses leading up to the vehicle's connector, and we've got all of our voltage present, and confirmed that no fuses were blown and the voltage was present at the connector. And then we removed our faulty sensor, bench tested it, ensured and confirmed that it was faulty, and then we ordered a replacement one, fitted it into the car, and then rescanned the car, cleared all codes, and we don't have any engine check light anymore. So problem's fixed. We will call the customer, bill and invoice them, and then we can go from there. So there you go, guys. It's back to life, and I hope this video has helped somebody out there, and thank you for watching.